Okay, let's take a look at modes. Object Quality System, and this is for use with the Cepheus engine core rules. I might also add it works with any of the Cepheus variants. I could even conceive this working with some of the fantasy variants as well, and certainly with some of the modern interpretations of the Cepheus rules. And of course, if it's compatible with Cepheus, it's compatible with Traveller as well. So this is a standalone short PDF of 9 pages or so, and produced by Verdigris Press. That's not a name I've heard of before, but let's have a look at it. So what is the principle behind this? Well, simply put, it's about qualifying how good an object is. So as it says here, the modes actually stands for maintainability, operation, design, extensibility and security. And I think you'll immediately see how some of those apply to perhaps a firearm. You might have that special sniper rifle, you know. It's so easy to maintain and it's so good, and you can add everything onto it. You can have suppressors, you can have any kind of optics, rangefinders. Everything can be fitted on there. So you can see there are different qualities that apply to a weapon, because you might get a high point or something that doesn't allow you to modify it in any meaningful way. So that's what this is about. And as it says here, I haven't highlighted it, but each of those qualities for this mode has a -5 to a +5. That's where have I mentioned it here? Okay, so it's D6 minus a D6, and that gives you a score between +5 and -5 for each of those modes. So once again, maintainability, operation, design, extensibility, and security. Okay, so you can add maintainability and mechanics skill checks onto this object. So let's say you've got a positive modifier for maintainability. So if you're doing something that requires you to do maintenance to that object, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a firearm, as you'll see later, it could be the jump drive engines for your ship. It can be a modifier to that. So straightforward, easy to use. Operation is a measure of the object's ergonomic factors. How easy is it to physically use? That could be very important for a jump drive. If it's not ergonomic, how do you get round it to maintain it? We've all seen cars where you can't get at the engine because it's built too close to the frame, sort of thing. And that's kind of what that could be there. So design reflects how well an object is made. How well does it do what it's supposed to do? Okay, when the object takes damage, if needed, or a maintenance check is skipped, you need to test the design. So if it's better designed, it can go for longer without maintenance. So that's an interesting idea. Extensibility qualifies how difficult or easy it is to change the object. Well, I've mentioned with a rifle, you could add a scope, grip, whatever, handles even here. Again, that can apply to a starship or modules within a starship as well. You know, if you want to add drop tanks to your ship, so you need to have a ship that is extensible, so you can perhaps put a new a jump drive sponson on there that extends the force field around that new bubble of fuel, you know, that sort of thing. So is your ship extensible? Does it have places for you to bolt things on? Or God forbid you have to drill holes in the hull of your ship. You wouldn't want to do that. Security, safety and protective measures for the object. So again, for a ship security system, that could be quite important. Are you going to stop those pirates jumping on? Okay, so let's go down here. So applying modes to large systems. So again, a large system would be your starship, as they mention here. So let's have a look at the factors you've got over here. Here's an example for a frontier trader. This starship overall has these main capabilities. This is your modes, M-O-D-E-N-S. And you can see they've created modes for each element of the ship. Could be very important. So you could have a system where it's got a very good computer and an awful maneuver drive that constantly needs to be whacked with a spanner. Now, would you do this for everything? No, I wouldn't. Not in my game. I wouldn't have, as soon as somebody gets hold of a gun, I wouldn't have them rolling the stats up for that gun. However, if they inherit a gun, or it's a MacGuffin for your campaign or for your particular scenario, then yeah, I could see me doing this, because it might have story hooks involved with that. Something's really well engineered. Well, who built that? Was it handmade? If something's really good at security, well, why is it good at security? Why is it poor at security? What's the history behind that in relation to this object? So I think I could definitely see me doing it on all the major sections of a ship if they were buying a second-hand ship, and I might not even share that with the players. It does say here later on, or maybe I've passed it, I'm not sure, but you could have these stats written down as the referee, and you could reveal those stats to them if the players go to investigate or to do something. So if they try to maintain something, obviously, then the maintenance factor would come into play there. So you could reveal it to them there. But they could also make skill checks to try and determine how good something is. So if they are buying a second-hand starship, they might make an engineering check to see what the operability is on that jump drive, or how well it can be maintained. They can make skill checks to make those determinations and reveal the numbers. Okay, so here's another interesting one. So once you've come up with the modes for your ship, price modifiers. So if it's got a really poor score, then, as it shows here, 1/10 of the price, because it's obviously terrible. And here they've done some examples on a breakdown for a ship. Price modifiers on what you're buying there. I already modify my prices if the stuff is second-hand, if they're not buying a new ship. Again, these factors could well apply even to new ships or new rifles. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's well-designed, doesn't mean it's ergonomic, We've all seen horrible devices, such as, dare I say, Apple devices that have one button. I hate that. I like a button for everything. But there you go, that's me. Discovering modes, this is it. This is where it talks about how the players can discover the modes. If you feel that an object's modes are not apparent, you can ask for a skill check, and that's where the players can work out what those modes are. They've also got here a list of template modes that you can apply to various things. Something that's old but loved, well, here's the pre-generated stats, so you don't have to roll them. Well made, well, there's your numbers. So as you can see, they're quite evocative names. So you could just use those names in your game. That's it. So we've reached the end. It goes, the last page is just the open game license. So there you go. That's modes. I think there's a lot of usability in here. Let me just reiterate, I don't think I would use it for everything in my game. Certainly if they're buying a new ship or a rifle or computer, whatever it is, something that's important or the quality matters. Perhaps they get a new sensor op system fitted into their ship. Then let's check the modes on that one just to see how well it operates, because that's going to make it, not only is it going to give the players problems to overcome, they're going to be very aware of those problems, and they're going to have to make their plans to operate around those problems to make the best of what they've got. I think there's a lot of development there. So, modes. They've just bought their first battlesuit armour, and it's got terrible operability. That could be so funny. Anyway, modes. Object quality system used for the Cepheus engine and Traveller, of course. See you next time.